Welcome to the Awesemo UFC Live Before Lock show, as we are here to get you ready for today's UFC 263. As I know, my man Pete is just crunching away, trying to get his lineups in. I did mine about an hour and a half ago. I probably spent about a good hour because there were certain fighters that I was getting way too much of that I did not want that much of. But of course, we're here for the next hour, leading you up to UFC 263. Of course, lock here just under 1 hour from now. And of course, we're here to answer your questions. So start lining those up in our premium Slack channel. Also, you can do that right here on YouTube. We will start getting into your questions here momentarily. Of course, Pete, happy Saturday to you, bro. I know you're just crunching away there and trying to figure out who do I have too much of? Who do I not have enough of? I will tell you, when I started doing my crunches today, I was getting so much Leon Edwards. And someone asked me a question in Slack earlier today, and it was like, how many 9,000 fighters are you trying to get in your lineup? And I was like, well, you got to have at least one. At minimum, you got to have one, I think. Mm-hmm. And I said, but my primary build is I'm trying to get two in there, but it really did. I found myself, trying to get some of these builds that I wanted. It was going to Terrence McKinney and Brandon Moreno were my two, punt type plays.
Yeah. What is up, everybody? Thanks for joining us. Happy to have you guys here. We got north of 200 people here. I agree with you. I'm trying to get at least two of the studs in my lineups. I really like Jamal Hill. I really like Leon Edwards. I even really like I guess it's contrarian because Brandon Moreno is going to be pretty popular. Davison Figueiredo, I think, is a nice play. Despite having possibly a rough weight cut, he seems to always have one. But let me say, I feel like my analysis this week is going to be on point, and I'm going to blow it because of like running around and scrambling throughout, this entire morning and, going to a jiu-jitsu seminar and everything, and then having the disaster that I'm having with my lineups in Cruncher. And it's all user error. It's just me because, when I sat there and I was talking to you and Tyler before the show, and I said, man, do I really have 80% of this guy? Yeah. I'm probably going to blow my lineups today, Jason, but it's okay. I want you guys to cash. I will attempt to adjust, but I'm not the best when it comes to CSVs. I literally looked up our Awesemo how-to video 10 minutes before I hopped into stream. And I'm like, how the heck do I do a mass? I've already reserved 150 lineups. Usually when I just do my crunches or whatnot, I can enter it that way. I've never really done it where I had to manipulate the CSVs and the Excel spreadsheets. But if you guys are really, really good at that stuff, then kudos to you guys.
Yeah, I'm pretty good at that stuff. By the way, any truth to the rumor I heard that you're working on armbar from guard?
Yeah, no, maybe we'll see.
Maybe Alexis Davis has been working on that one. I would tell you, because someone asked, they said, have you X'd anybody out? I said, I haven't X'd anybody out, but there are certain fighters that I just found myself really limiting exposure to. Chase Hooper was one of them, just because the concerns about the stand-up aspect of it, even though I could see him getting a takedown just from Steven Peterson being a little wild, some concerns about, Steven Peterson missing weight by 2.5 pounds. I limited exposure on Alexis Davis. Movar Evolov is another one that I wanted to limit exposure to. I really didn't want much of Paul Craig. I didn't want much of Nate Diaz.
Yeah, I mean, I had a disaster in Cruncher today, but I X'd out a lot of people, and perhaps me Xing out a lot of people forced my lineups to have 80% of this underdog. And I think it's extremely bold. It's definitely possible. I mean, we did mention on the strategy show that we like a certain fighter, but from a value standpoint, but anytime you're getting 80%, north of 50%, you're really banking on a lot. Obviously, it's good if it works out, and you could have double the field, even triple the field of that one particular player. But when it doesn't work out, Jason, then you are spiraling down fast.
Now, if you're not a Awesemo Plus member, I want to let you know today's free one is part of today's free content. Premium data and tools we have over at Awesomeo.com is MMA fighter ranking. So you can check out that, give you a little peek of what is behind the paywall. Also free on the site today, MLB player rankings and NBA player rankings to get you ready for today's sports action. Of course, before we get into the questions, make sure to hit that thumbs up right here on YouTube. Not subscribe to the channel, be sure to subscribe to the channel. We got a ton of great content for you each and every day. Also, they're adding these short clips as well to get you ready for the upcoming fantasy football season. So be sure to subscribe. Also, hit that notification bell so you know when a new show is live here on the channel. But of course, Pete, we are here to answer your questions. So if you do have any questions, you can line those up right now in our Slack channel, also on YouTube. I'm just going to start off this one because I know you hate the L word. I know you hate the L word. Mm-hmm. And when we mean the L word, we're talking lock.
Yeah.
Chris Toffer goes, Fravola is a lock. I would not say that.
Who is?
Matt Fravola.
No, he's not.
Go ahead. No, I'll let you go ahead.
The reason he's not, right, is because of the inconsistencies with his training camps, the inconsistencies with his opponents. And anytime you have a replacement stepping in with a completely different game plan or a completely different fighting style, you really can't consider that a lock. Obviously, a short notice thing is one thing, but you're talking about Terrence McKinney, who does have a wrestling background, so possibly he can negate some of Fravola's attempts. You know that's what Fravola is going to do. He's going to go to that takedown well early and often, and that's why he's a nice little contrarian play, because I will say McKinney's going to have some decent, popularity because he's bottom of the barrel, has a wrestling background, has KO ability and KO power, and is just he's going to be a tricky opponent for sure. Not to mention Terrence McKinney's just coming off a recent bout. It ain't like he's coming off the couch. He's literally coming off of a victory. So you talk about possibly picking up a UFC win in his debut. So it's not an easy fight by any means, but anytime you're a wrestler facing another wrestler, it's not an auto win.
He is coming up in weight from 45 to 55, so Fravola could have a little bit of a size advantage there. Prior to that LFA win, McKinney had back-to-back head kick knockouts in a combined 37 seconds, so he will go to that well, but he does have that wrestling background. And just like Pete mentioned, is the fact that it's a totally different style matchup going from Frank Camacho to Terrence McKinney. I mean, look, I'll say this, he's on DraftKings. McKinney is my favorite pump play. Over on FanDuel, Brad Riddell may be my favorite pump play at $11.
So the salary is,
it's because of salary.
Yeah, the salary is appealing. That fight, I really can't get a good read on, and the reason is because I have so much stock in Drew Dober because of his performances in the cage. Obviously, he has the UFC experience in this situation. We typically think of him as the KO guy, who's the A side in the striking department. But Brad Riddell, renowned striker, can easily go in there and maybe even out volume Drew Dober. I don't know how that fight goes, right? I don't really see either guy finishing each other. Watch it end up being an optimal fight. But for me, I was a little underweight on the fight, just because if it's a 15-minute affair, it's on the feet primarily, and there's no knockdowns or a finish, do either guy really score? Obviously, if Riddell has a high volume fight and it's crazy, yeah, his with his salary, it makes a lot of sense, and it allows you some roster flexibility. But I don't hate it. I don't hate it, and I definitely would probably like to have some Brad Riddell over the 80% player that I'm putting in.
Let's get into some questions over here in Slack. Ryan saying thoughts on FanDuel MVP, Edwards, Hill, or Figueiredo. I like all three of those options. My FanDuel MVPs are Izzy, Hill, Anders, and did I say Edwards?
Yeah. So, I will say that on FanDuel, my MVP would be Hill. And it's because he's going to have to defend takedowns. Paul Craig's going to be shooting for his life. And when he does that, he's going to be, stuffing takedowns, hopefully, and then making them punish and working towards a TKO. So I think that, it would be Hill for me over on FanDuel.
Next up, confidence level on Luigi. Now, you talked about Luigi on Thursday. Has the confidence gone down a little bit?
Let me see how much Luigi I have. He's one of my favorite guys under 8,000 for sure. And I think that it's a very winnable fight. I mean, if you look at the odds, it's a close fight. So I don't really see why Farzim, it's not like Farzim's really priced up, but it's an appealing fighter for me. And I do like Luigi quite a bit. I wish I had more Luigi in my lineups, to be honest.
Next up, Legalize says, can missing weight for Peterson be an advantage for him in this fight?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It just kind of depends on what kind of happened in the weight cut. Like there's aspects that you just don't know. Is it a situation where he was one of the last guys to weigh in? Was it just his body stopped sweating? Is there some type of injury related to it? It's been he hasn't fought since September of 2019. How much does that play into it? There's just so many factors we don't know.
Yeah, I like it. I like the fact that he weighed in heavy. Obviously, if he had a good training camp and he's not injured or sick or something like that, I like the fact that he's heavy because Chase Hooper is going to be trying his new tricky striking, I guess, but he'll be shooting for his life as well. And he needs to get, Steven Peterson down, whether it's on top of him, working towards a leg lock or, trying to get on top of him. So I think that the extra weight can definitely help Steven Peterson. I don't think Steven Peterson's a weak guy at all. And Chase Hooper doesn't really seem to have the best takedowns in general. So I think Chase Hooper should have, yes, his striking's booty, but I think he should have really invested in a strong wrestling coach to help him get the fight to the ground. You know what I mean? It's not like you just patch his striking holes and he's going to be a complete fighter. He needs help by getting it to the ground.
Next up, Christopher asks, goes, 2 best plays under 7,700 on DraftKings. This is a tough one. Because I think that you have to put Martin Vettori in that class as well.
Yeah.
Here's my concern about Martin Vettori. I'm really concerned about is how emotional is he going to be fighting?
That's something we can't even really tell, right? I mean, I don't know. He seems to get pretty pissed off pretty quickly, and he goes from
it doesn't take much with him.
No, he's
I was thinking this. I was like, if I'm the UFC, if he wins tonight, they might be concerned about putting him on some major media interviews because he might just go off and that television show may go, we have no interest in ever having him again.
Right. Yeah. Marvin Vettori, everybody's hating on him, but the mind games that Izzy is implementing are definitely taking their toll against Marvin Vettori. Whether, Vettori goes out there and wins anyways, it doesn't matter. But, Izzy put out something that he's a puppet master and that Vettori's his puppet and he can make him react or do whatever he wants. And it does seem like that, right? Like it does seem like, whatever Izzy says, it gets under his skin. But at the end of the day, Vettori's a better fighter than when they first fought. But you can easily say the same thing about Israel Adesanya. The big question is, does Izzy have the answer for the wrestling? Because in the clinch, can Marvin Vettori keep up the pace? That's the one thing about Vettori that I do worry about is what happens if his cardio drops off a cliff and he gets too fatigued. And then now Izzy's takedown defense seems like it's elevated when in reality, it's been steady. It's been okay. It's workable. I think Vettori needs to take him down, obviously, and at his given salary. If he does that and goes to the well and wins a couple rounds, even in a loss, we could see a week where some of these really, really cheap fighters come through for us.
I mentioned about the prop bets on the main event that stick out to me. And right before the show, I checked them out. Izzy via TKO KO plus 185. Marvin Vettori via decision plus 430 is a really juicy prop out there in terms of that one, because I do think if Vettori wins, it is going to be via stoppage. CS, appreciate you in the super chat. He says, same question as last week, please. 2 lower owned, high upside boom bust sleeper / underdogs. Looking at the underdogs, a boom bust. Last week I mentioned Walt Harris was going to be an ultimate boom bust. Is it Paul Craig this week?
God, come on, man.
It boom bust. Literally, he could get you 100 points if he gets this fight to the ground, submits Jamal Hill, or he gets you 5 points because he gets knocked out in 60 seconds.
What salary are we talking about? Like under 8,000?
I was more looking at ownership in terms of some low ownership. I mean, look, some other ones, I Damian Maia, I think has got a boom bust potential, but obviously he has to make this a grappling exchange. Maybe Jake Collier's that guy in a heavyweight matchup.
Yeah. Okay. So let me kind of highlight the ultimate boom bust underdogs. So we're going to talk 8,000 and under 8,000. So Luigi Vendramini, so many things we don't know, right? Like he had one really good finish and one good performance. Lost his debut against Zaleski dos Santos, but had great moments throughout that, has good striking, has good grappling, can score well against a guy that clearly does not have a strong ground game against Farziem. Luigi Vendramini needs to implement takedowns. So 7,900, he could give a really, really big score. Next person, I would say for the boom bust, Jake Collier's volume is interesting. And it's because it's the first fight of the night, right? Am I correct on that? That's still the first fight of the night?
Correct.
Okay. His volume in his previous fight against Jean Vellante, 272 significant strikes thrown, obviously only landed 123, but we talked about that middleweight volume. So at 7,500, he allows you to have so much flexibility with your lineup and could win a decision. And we know that striking decisions aren't what we're looking for, but he's kind of like not the typical situation because he has high volume. And then if I'm looking, Paul Craig, you're right though. Like if he gets takedowns or he catches, Jamal Hill in a submission, he could definitely score well. But it would probably be Terrence McKinney for me because of how hot he starts out the gate. He comes out there, he throws head kicks, body kicks, lands them a lot. He will push a good pace for a little bit. I think he's got like a round and a half, maybe 2 rounds in him, but those 2 rounds can be, seconds away from getting finished. So those are kind of like 3 fighters I would highlight. I think a lot of people would consider Darren Stewart a guy, but it's hard to get behind him when you saw how he started to, get dominated as that fight progressed last time around.
No question. Next up, your boy over in Slack saying any fight, you should just having both fighters in the same lineup on a FanDuel GPP. There's so many fights tonight. We have 14 fights. Like if you told me there was 9 or 10 fights, okay, I can get with that thought process. But okay, but let me just say, okay, maybe this is you're looking at of how do I get different from the rest of the field? And this would be a way to get different. To me, I think that you got to be okay. If you think the main event is going to go all 25 minutes, okay, I think that's somebody because there's going to be takedowns and takedown offenses potentially in that one.
Yep.
Co-main event, I would say you would have that in that equation. No on Edwards Diaz, no on Maya Muhammad, no on Craig Hill. Dober Riddell, I think, plays out on the feet. Andrew Stewart, I think, is an inside the distance fight. Murphey Calderwood, Calderwood's going to throw a ton of strikes. Murphy's going to be going for a lot of takedowns.
Nope.
I would say it's your main event or co-main event if you're going to do that, but I would not. That's not a play I would recommend.
Yeah, I would agree with you and say that it's probably the flyweight bout between Figueiredo and Moreno would be the stack that you'd want, or the main event with Israel Adesanya and Vettori because of the takedowns and possibly elevated numbers of takedowns defended if you're on FanDuel, of course. But anytime you're doing that, you kind of really, putting yourself in a corner, and it's tough to be on the outside looking in and banking on 2 fighters in the same fight to really shoot you to the top. It can happen. But you also need we see stuff like that work when there's DQs, can't continue because of injury or something like that. Eye pokes, people having anxiety attacks back in the back. You know what I mean? Like on a weird card like that, that's when the situation of a stack would come into play and be like, wow, well, actually the stack worked out. On a normal night, I don't believe the stack. I don't think the stack works.
Yeah, and it looks like Tom Breeze's days in the UFC are over.
Crazy.
Duncan says, who over 8,900, and if any, who under 7,500 in cash? In terms of cash, I'm going to go right to Leon Edwards, 9,500. Obviously, it's a big price tag. Jamal Hill, 9,400. In terms of, outside them, that under that 7,500 price tag, we mentioned, Moreno, McKinney. We've kind of mentioned that one. The thing with Moreno, you just gotta. To me, I think it's about weathering that early storm, because I have a lot of questions about Figueiredo. I go back to Thursday at the press conference. If you watch him walk on stage, you see the look in his face. You can see it's already a tough weight cut. And then he weighs in at the very last moment yesterday. And if you watch, he almost stumbles going up the stairs.
Yeah, I mean, it's an eventual.
And there were two guys ready there to catch him, which tells me they knew he was in bad shape.
But when has he had a good weight cut, right? Like, the guy always struggles to make 125 pounds. And the situation where we're talking about with the weight where, he looked terrible, that will really come into play rounds 3 through 5. What happens if he puts Brandon Moreno away within 2? Then that weight cut really doesn't matter, but I understand the concern. And I think that's why Brandon Moreno is going to be pretty popular today. But I'm still backing the champ, Figueiredo. I think that he's going to get it done. I think that last time out, you saw him suffering through an illness and competed the way he did. If he just has a bad weight cut, I feel like he can, perform at an even higher level. So it's a lot. It's tough to predict. That's why I would recommend having some Moreno, having some Figueiredo. It is a flyweight bout, so temper expectations in regards to a finish. But the salaries are nice, man. It can happen for us.
What concerns me about Figueiredo is this is not the first time. It's not the second time. This is now multiple times he's having a struggle making a 125. Like, I really question what's going on outside of fight camp. That it constantly is becoming a problem, and that it's just the tools are there at the PI to evaluate your body and what you need to be doing. I'm really wondering if he's just not taking advantage of it.
It's that, or it's that he just wants to have the biggest advantage possible. And you'll always find people like that. You'll always find people that want to push it to the limit. They want to, make themselves suffer if it gives them a 1% chance to be a champ, or 1% chance at excelling. So I don't think that he will move up in weight until the UFC forces him. But, until he really misses weight bad, or vacates the belt, or loses the belt because of a situation like this, I think this is going to be the narrative going forward. Oh, he's got a bad weight cut. I just think he looks bad all the time whenever he weighs in. But I understand your concern. It's legitimate. Jason, we got over 600 people in here right now, and we only have 80 likes. We need to get those likes up over 150. I'd really appreciate it. Shoot your questions into chat. We're here for the next 40 minutes, answering your questions, helping you with your lineups, and making you guys some money.
Look, it would not surprise me if tonight's Deiveson Figueiredo's final fight at 125 pounds.
You're feeling that, huh?
I'm not the only one that's feeling that. A lot of people just think that the time is coming that he needs to be at 35, and it's a health and safety aspect of just trying to. I mean, Pete, you saw what his body looked like on the scale. There's no. I mean, that's a struggle to make 125 because there is no 1 pound allowance.
I've seen a lot worse. I've seen a lot worse.
Oh, I've seen some bad ones too. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen so many bad ones. So when people are like, he's struggling, it's like, maybe to some people, he looks like it's no fighter enjoys cutting weight. It all depends on, are you water loading? How much water did you have to cut? How much did you do? How did you do it? But I'm not trying to look too much into that. I'd rather rely on the analysis and the fight tape, but we'll have to see.
Next up, Blackbird says FanDuel cash 2x2, Hill and McKinney, or Fravola and Collier. I'd rather go the Hill McKinney route.
Yeah, same. I agree.
Figueiredo or Hill, FanDuel GPP. I will go Hill just because ceiling could potentially be higher for Figueiredo, but I just, I like Hill's chances in that fight.
You say FanDuel GPP?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Hill, right? Because you're going to have to stuff takedowns. And I do think the likelihood of a Hill finish is a little higher than a Figueiredo finish, even though Figueiredo traditionally the flyweights don't finish. Figueiredo's kind of like the anomaly within the division where he puts people away. But Paul Craig, when he loses, he gets finished. So that's why I like Hill today.
And look, Paul Craig's on a winning streak, but it's it's a Shogun win in 2020. It's not a Shogun win in 2014. True. It's a different story. Of course, so we want to get access to the premium tools and data we have over at Awesemo.com. You want to sign up for an Awesemo Plus Pass. And if you are a new user of Awesemo Plus, we have got a special for you right now here on MMA Live Before Lock. Use the promo code MMA Live Before Lock, all caps, one word, for 15% off your first week of Awesemo Plus Platinum, as you can get the player projections, ownership projections, and so much more. So be sure to check out that. And if you just want an Awesemo Plus weekly pass, you can get that for $8.95. Stop guessing, start winning. Join Awesemo Plus today. Looking at some questions, I'll swing over here to YouTube to get some YouTube questions in here.
Let's do it.
Top fights to target for GPPs. I think
I love that question.
Look, Edwards was someone that I was putting in a lot of lineups. Hill is one, but in terms of fights, I think you probably have to look at the co-main event of Figueiredo Moreno, primarily just because of what we saw in the first matchup with the high volume, the takedowns, the control time. In terms of other fights, that Anders is another person that I'm targeting as well.
Yeah, so let's highlight my favorite GPPs, right? GPP fights. The main event, it's more on the Vettori side. The co-main event, I do have some interest there. I have plenty of interest in Leon Edwards. I think that even at his price range, he could definitely explode, but it's all relative to the rest of the card. The Jamal Hill, Paul Craig is like the biggest GPP fight on there, because if Paul Craig gets him on his back, what happens? The Eric Anders, Darren Stewart, I'm with you. It's Eric Anders for me, but that's a GPP fight for sure. And then let's give you one more. I'll say the Fravola McKinney, right? You got so many unknowns, the takedown potential of Fravola, the unknowns surrounding McKinney and the KO pop. That's another GPP fight that I will be targeting plenty.
Next up, Dominate says Hakeem Dawodu being overlooked.
It's a great point, right? You guys are sharp, man, and we appreciate you guys checking us out, man. It's just so cool that you guys come and hang out, and that's a great point. He's sharp. Now, when I was making my lineups, granted, my lineups are probably going to suck today because I screwed up, but I want you guys.
You're going to win $200,000, and you're going to be having a great night.
Can you imagine?
You're going to be making it rain in the club tonight.
Yeah, it ain't no club. I'm going to make it rain at like Whole Foods or something. But can you imagine? But let me just say that the Hakeem Dawodu, right? 7,000, sweet salary. Sweet salary. Coming in, as a decent underdog in a winnable fight against Evloev, because Evloev against Nick Lentz dropped the first round and maybe could have lost that fight. It was a split decision. And my whole point about Hakeem Dawodu, the reason I wasn't like so in his corner for this fight is in wins. How does he score? 64, 62, has a finish, got 95, decision 81. How do I see this fight going? If Dawodu wins, I foresee it going the distance. So I think it's going to go to the scorecards. And I don't know his upside. Can he get over 80 points against Evloev? On FanDuel, for sure, he's going to be stuffing takedowns left and right or needing to. On DraftKings, it's more of a salary play, but he's definitely live to get a victory for sure.
And next up, is from Miles. What should we be targeting? Early prelims, TV prelims, or main card?
Hell, I don't know.
I think early prelims, because that's where I think you could get some leverage in terms of lower ownership.
Okay, so let's think of this from a promoter standpoint. My father's a promoter. You've been around the game for a while, Jason. How does this work? Well, you put the inexperienced people, okay, or what we would consider GPP fights early on in the card. That's why the first fight of the night seems to be optimal, because it's let's not say the lowest skilled fight on the card, but it's guys that are just to kick off the action, start the card off right. I do think that the more notable names, obviously on the main card, will garner some more ownership based on popularity. If you want a contrarian approach to your builds, you stack the prelims. Just don't stack the fights. Don't stack the first 3 fights or something like that, but maybe take more of an approach towards the prelims where a lot of people don't know the names.
And also, for those who may not be aware, the Diaz-Edwards fight is a 5-round fight. Nate Diaz requested this. He wanted it to be 5 rounds. I'll say this. I think in an ideal world tonight for the UFC, I think they would love to see a Nate Diaz and a Brandon Moreno win. When you've seen how the fans in Phoenix have reacted, I mean, we all know Nate Diaz is a huge star, but when you've seen the way the fans in Phoenix have reacted to Brandon Moreno, I think that's the ideal scenario for the UFC.
Yeah. So like my buddy, right? I was at work last night and one of my best friends was like, I can't wait to watch Diaz fight. And it's just like, man, Diaz really has a following. He's like, yeah, I think Diaz is going to win. And I looked at him, I said, you do, huh? And he's like, yeah, I think he's going to win. I think he's got it. So at what point does fandom cloud judgment? And I think it happens so often. So that's why, like, if you take an analytical approach, whether you're looking at it from box scores or fight tape, if you just bank on fight tape alone and don't let anything else cloud your judgment, you will have a natural advantage over a lot of people that get swayed towards fandom. You know what I mean? So it would blow my mind if Nate Diaz beat Leon Edwards. It really would blow my mind.
Yeah, I would be. Yeah, I would be shocked. Vettori or Craig for late slate DraftKings? That's easy for me. It's Mark Vettori.
Yeah, it's Vettori.
It's totally. To me, it's just I just can't play Paul Craig. I just can't do it. Cash game locks. Leon Edwards.
Sound like a broken record, right? But
I mean, I hate to sound like a broken record, but
no. I'm not saying yet it's a bad. I'm saying we like Jamal Hill. I really like Jamal Hill today. I do. Do I dare say Bilal? I'll say Jamal Hill just to be a little different.
I've been looking at that ownership on Bilal Muhammad, and I just think it comes down to can he finish Damian Maia? I mean, yes, this is an older Damian Maia, but Bilal Muhammad's just not a finisher.
Yeah,
I mean, it's proven over the years, but I think that if you're looking for a leverage play in those 9,000s, it is Bilal Muhammad.
All right, so Bilal Muhammad, if he was priced at 8,500,
smash play.
Lock.
It's all about the price. It's totally about the price.
Yeah, 100%.
Of wanting to get there. I mean, look, like when you talk about the ceilings of the 9,000 fighters, like Leon Edwards and Jamal Hill are just in a different. They're in a different level than Bilal Muhammad is.
Yeah, 1A, 1B.
It's just. Because those are two guys that I'm just looking at of going out there and getting 100+ points. And I think Jamal Hill's got the potential, maybe get that 60-second bonus too.
I don't know. I feel like we're going to see a mollywhopping from like 14 minutes in that fight.
I'll say this. I'm surprised how many stacking questions we're getting.
I don't know why you would. I mean, well, okay. I'll answer the question. I understand why we are. There's 3 5-round fights. That's why.
I get it. I go, but let's look at Figueiredo. Let's say Figueiredo wins. The likelihood scenario is it's within 10 minutes. If Brandon Moreno wins, likelihood is 25 minutes.
I don't think we have to box Figueiredo in just for 10 minutes. I mean, he's shown he could go the distance. Obviously, he would prefer to get it done early. But he did fine in the last bout. It was a draw. I mean, he clearly did enough to make it close and competitive.
Look, there's gonna be plenty of people, and we see this every week on DraftKings,
that
are going to stack the first fight, which I'd never understand why people do this.
Let them.
I've never every time I see that after a first fight, I'm like, really? Seriously? That many people stacked the main event or the first fight of the night?
Hey, kudos to you guys if it works. Pulling the old Mama Heat strategy, just do stuff that makes no damn sense.
By the way, of course, we're sponsored by Monkey Knife Fight. With Monkey Knife Fight, your charge, player prop contest. Pete already knows what I'm about to bring up here. By the way, if you sign up, use that promo code Awesomeo, you get an instant first match deposit up to $100. So I go on Monkey Knife Fight. Last week, I brought it up on the show. The Montana, was it Montana Del Rosa fight?
Yeah,
I think it was Del Rosa, and I saw the more or less on the total strikes. I was like, oh, I like that one. Well, there was one that really jumped out to me when I was looking about an hour before the show, and it is Nate Diaz versus Leon Edwards.
Oh boy, let's hear this.
More or less for Leon Edwards is 98.5. Okay, that's a reasonable number. What shocked me is the number on Nate Diaz, which was 142.5.
Okay, so let's play a game. Chat, let us know what you think for the more or less for Nate Diaz. Do you think it's going to be more or less than 100? Would you say 142.5?
142.5. It's less. Okay. It is less, but it's just less. Just hammer less.
Well, hold on. Maybe not. Let's give credit where credit's due. Nate Diaz is tough as hell, and you have to think. Is it going to go the distance? Because if it goes the distance, then that is a likely situation. If it's going to be finished, then you already know you're hammering less.
I got to pull up and see what is the most amount of strikes Nate Diaz has landed in a fight.
Look at the chat right now. Thank you guys for the involvement. I love this right now. We got so many people saying less, few people saying more. Majority.
So in his second fight against Connor, he landed 166. His fight against Michael Johnson, 153. Donald Cerrone back in 2011, your boy, 238.
It's a lot, man. And now that's significant strikes. You were saying 142.5
total strikes. I believe it's total strikes. It's a lot of strikes, man. That's a lot of strikes.
142 Stockton slaps. I don't know.
209.
Yeah, right. You just got to do the Nate Diaz.
Look, damn. Man, I saw that line. I was like, man, that's a massive number. Massive number. Favorite FanDuel MVP. So for me, it is Izzy. It is Jamal Hill. It is Eric Anders and Leon Edwards.
It's a good group right there. Good group right there, man.
But also, I think those are probably also going to be all the favorite MVPs as well. Let's see here. Just kind of going down some questions here, trying to get caught up in terms of that. If Diaz wins, how likely does he break the slate? Yeah, if he wins, he's going to be optimal. No question.
100%. Anybody under 7,500, if they win and you don't have them, you're kind of screwed. But especially in the 6,000 range, you can make up ground by having somebody a little bit more expensive, come through for you. But anybody in the 6,000 range, 6,900 Vettori, 6,900 McKinney, 6,800 Paul Craig, 6,700 Nate Diaz. Any of those guys come through or have a good performance and a loss, and you don't have them, it's a wrap.
Yeah. Nate says, new to MMA on FanDuel, how much do you pivot off MVP spot? So when I'm looking at MVP, I'm thinking of a couple of different things. So part of my thought process is who could be potentially defending takedown attempts. So that's where the Izzy thought is the takedown attempts, is that Marvin's going to be trying to go for takedown, so you get some takedown points there. I'm also looking at, could they get the finish in the first round, and then high volume. Those are my big three.
Yeah, it's fair. I like your assessment for sure. I'm interested to see, right, like where people lie on the Drew Dober, Brad Riddell fight so much, because it's a 155-pound fight between two strikers, probably going to be forced to stand up with each other and perhaps going to be there until somebody falls. So if you're on the correct side of that, or the Eric Anders, Darren Stewart, because if Darren Stewart is able to replicate the first minute and a half of that fight, man, I don't know what his ownership's like, Jason, but Darren Stewart could be a guy that could. I mean, I don't know. Anders looked like he was tired yesterday at the weigh-ins, but I still favor him in the bout.
Look, I like where Eric Anders is now training at Fight Ready there in Arizona. But Darren Stewart definitely has low ownership, no question about that. Of course, you can sign up for an Also Plus membership if you want to get access to those numbers. Next up, JoJo, the least volatile option in the mid range. That is a fight that I struggle with because, like, to me, if Murphey wins the fight, it's about her taking the fight to the ground. But JoJo has got massive volume, and we've seen that massive volume and how that can equal in DraftKings.
Okay. So the least volatile option in the mid range. That's the question, correct?
Correct.
All right. So let's think about it, right? Joanne Calderwood, she's lost twice via submission. Once to Jessica Andrade, once to Jennifer Maia, a third time to Marina Moroz. So she has that losing capability of not lasting the 15 minutes. Okay. So she's put up less than 36 4 times. If you think about Lauren Murphy, right? Not the most appealing, not the sexiest option. She has put up some stinkers as well, but at least she's not getting finished. It's decision losses. She has some decently high volume as well. I'm looking at thrown significant strikes, 197, 158, 171. I think she can match Joanne Calderwood, despite Joanne Calderwood's numbers being in the 200s. Like, that's pretty. She's got some in here, 266, 230, 240. I think that fight in general is probably the least volatile, if I can answer it that way. I don't know if Calderwood is the answer or Murphy, but I think that fight in general is probably the least volatile.
Of course, one of the things that Pete and I love to see after a UFC fight card is over is those screenshots of your winnings. And of course, if you want to get into the Awesemo Hall of Fame, you got to finish in the top 3 of a contest of over 5,000 entries. Of course, you got to be rocking that Awesemo avatar on your DFS profile. You can get it over at awesemo.com/avatar. Pete even going into the Hall of Fame this week with some Counter-Strike wins over there. We got some big wins over in the NBA, $100,000 winner there in the NBA contest over there on FanDuel. Also, we've had our very own Steve Buzzard and Alex Baker take down first, second, and third in the MLB contest. So congratulations to them. Also, a nice little win there. Second place in an MLB contest. And of course, our guy there, Pete, coming in first, taken down in some Counter-Strike is sometimes people don't know how good Pete is over there in Counter-Strike. He's a little quiet with it, but he does very well over there. Of course, when you do place in the top 3 of a contest of over 5,000 entries, tweet those wins to @Awesemo HOF and win a free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum. Only one free month can be awarded to a user per calendar year. Next up, Eric Anders or Matt Fravola in a single entry GPP. I would say Anders because of the finishing ability.
Yeah, I agree. And Jason, can I just say that we have the best, viewers and listeners out there. We appreciate you guys so much. We have north of 200 likes, 600 people still watching us. There's some comments I want to read right here. It's pretty awesome. KD Witherspoon says, does Chase Hooper show up? KDiz11 says Chase Hooper will be in attendance. Yes. Oh damn, you guys are awesome.
When he stepped up, when I was watching the ceremonial weigh-ins yesterday, and he walks up there, I'm like, this kid looks like he's 16 years old.
Oh man, he reminds me of one of our guys at our jiu-jitsu academy, who's like sneaky filthy. Like, everybody is like, you don't want to get beat up by that kid, but he's just really good.
Yeah. I mean, look, the question, Chase Hooper, it comes up to the stand-up abilities. The kid's obviously talented on the ground when it comes to jiu-jitsu, but it's about, can he get it there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Like, you know what I think would have been a good camp for him, even though Team Alpha Male gets a bad rap, is Team Alpha Male, because like they will fix your wrestling. They will help you get the fight to the mat. Their striking's okay for the division. I mean, you think what Chad Mendez has, Faber, good hands, like wrestle boxers. I think that's something where he should have gone in that direction. But hey, I don't know. We'll have to see. This is like a nice test for him against Steven Peterson, because Steven Peterson, he loses, he's out of the UFC, in my opinion. He wins, Chase Hooper could be one fight away from getting cut as well.
By the way, I will tell you, I do like that prop bet. Steven Peterson wins via TKO KO plus 370. Another one, Eric Anders via TKO KO plus 230 was something that definitely did stick out to me in terms of that one. Next up says, how much Diaz and Edwards should I have? 170 lineups on DraftKings.
170. Okay. Let me hear your
I
number.
would my number would probably be in the 50% range.
What?
Total.
Oh, okay. Leaning towards Leon Edwards.
Correct. 40% Leon Edwards, 10%.
Okay, bro. Well, let's be clear there, because I was worried about you for a second. I'm like,
no,
you're going heavy on Diaz right there. No, I would agree that my percentages are all over the place today because it's just trash. But I think that Edwards in the 40% range is fine. Diaz in the 10-12% range, I think, is someplace I think I would be okay with. Even less than that, honestly.
Next up, there's these popular sayings we have here on the show. And our guy Miles wants to know who's going to Takedown City.
Oh,
who's throwing them bungalows?
All right. Well, let's think of this. Who's going to Takedown City? How about this? Chat, tell me who's going to Takedown City. Help me out. Is it Izzy? Is he going to get taken down like crazy? Probably not. I think Nate Diaz might get taken down to, I can't even talk. Takedown City. But at the same token, I don't want Edwards playing jiu-jitsu with Diaz because his guard is pretty nasty.
Gotta think if he gets to the ground, he's gonna be throwing some massive elbows with that scar tissue.
Does anybody really go to Takedown City today?
I think there's fighters who are going to try to take it there. Now, whether they can or not is the other question. Vettori's going to try to.
Vettori's going to try, for sure.
Lauren Murphy's going to try.
Yeah.
It won't be your classic takedowns, but Damian Maia.
That ain't happening.
Alexis Davis.
Hold on, I got one. Nobody's talking about him. I hope Luigi Vendramini takes Faris Ziem to Takedown City. I hope.
Could be, but that's one of the fights that I did kind of prioritize a little bit there. Here, get some questions that maybe we haven't brought up earlier on in the show.
Can you imagine if we all watched the fights together? Can you imagine how interesting that would be? We all did
I have thought about that.
I don't know if I want to talk to Jason Floyd for 4 hours. It's a long time.
You know what? I used to like it. Could you stay awake that long? That might be the bigger problem. I don't need you dozing off in a stream.
Yeah. Just don't be the person when we're watching fights talking too much. I hate that.
Oh, man.
Can you imagine how fun that would be, though?
Here's a fighter that we talked a little bit, obviously, on Thursday about. Haven't really talked about today. Pannie Kianzad.
I love how you just brought her up. I really like her today. So let me tell you what I did on my cruncher. I'll give you a little scoop. I already told you that my lineups are probably not going to do well because I just rushed. But I made a group between 4 fighters that I wanted to get at least one of them. And this isn't like so bold or anything, but I combined a couple different groups. And this is how I have success with Counter-Strike and MMA and other. I like creating groups. That's the number one thing I like. So I have my group 1, which are like my stud group of how I want to make my exposure. Then I have Group B, where I also want to include at least one of these people. I put Pannie Kianzad, Lauren Murphy, Carlos Felipe, and Eric Anders in the group, Jason. And I want to get at least one of them. Do you like that?
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm with you on that. By the way, got just under 10 minutes to go here in the show. Of course, during the pay-per-view tonight, I will be in our Slack channel as I'm going to miss a little bit of the early prelims. I'm going to my nephew's graduation party. Crazy.
Okay.
Already graduating high school. So I'm going to miss a little bit of the prelims, but I will be in there during the pay-per-view. Of course, that's one of the great perks we have of being an Awesemo Plus member is our premium Slack channel, as you can talk to myself and Pete and our entire community about the fights. Always a fun time there during fight nights. So if, of course, if you do have any questions, be sure to line those up in the chat. We'll try to get to as much as we can. 2 punt play here options. We talked about Terrence McKinney. Would you take Damian Maia over McKinney?
No.
I'm with you on that one.
Nope.
Because if you think JoJo wins, you got to have exposure. She lands so much volume. That is true. She lands a ton of volume, but also you got to think about it, in this DraftKings scoring system we're at now. So if you say, you're talking 0.2 points per total strike, 0.2 points for significant strike. I do feel like for her to really look, if she goes out there and lands 130, total and significant strikes, yeah, it's going to be a nice number, even in a decision victory.
Yeah. I mean, I think like a Calderwood on FanDuel would make sense because of she'll probably have to stuff some takedowns or try to. The volume isn't what it used to be as far as DraftKings scoring when it comes to striking. If it's just a 15-minute affair, we don't really get the production that we were hoping for. But at 8,200 or 8,000 for Lauren Murphy, I think it's workable. Anything over 85 points, you'd be happy with.
Yeah. 10 entries is 8% too much on Collier. Been back and forth between him and Dawodu and McKinney. That's too much for me.
Come on, bro. No, I mean, let me say, right? When I looked at my lineups and I saw the mess, I asked Tyler and I asked Jason, I said, do I pivot this 80% underdog ownership to 100% Collier? Or because it was just like a quick fix, right? It was a quick fix for me. And it was a hell no. I can't do that. I like the volume of Collier, but in his losses, he has been knocked out. Carlos Felipe, strong boxer, has looked good at times. If he lands a shot, can't he knock Collier out? Can't he? Does he land the shot? You know what I'm saying?
Trevor asks, he goes, how does Moreno win this fight? Moreno threw the kitchen sink last time and still lost. Look, it was a very close fight, but it had a little bit of everything. And that's why you like this matchup from a DFS perspective, because it had the strikes, it had the takedowns, it had the control time. So, for me, it's about my general thought about Brandon Moreno is weathering that early storm and dragging Figueiredo into the championship rounds and truly test that cardio.
Yeah, so I kind of agree with the listener of saying like, all right, he tried everything last fight, and he was facing a Figueiredo who was battling an illness, and still, not that he didn't get it done. It was a draw, but I feel like that same success is not going to be replicated in this fight. We'll have to see. We will have to see. I would be pleasantly surprised if Moreno pulled it off, but I don't really see that happening.
Of course, be sure to hit a thumbs up right here on this video. Subscribe to the channel. Of course, coming up here in 30 minutes after us will be NBA Deeper Dive, as they'll start to get you ready for tonight's NBA playoff action. Of course, then Live Before Lock will be at 7:30 p.m. Eastern time. I know Sam would ask about the first fight, which has been a fight that's been optimal more times than not over the last month. So I think that's something you got to consider. Corey, I think you super chat. He goes, with playing Vettori and McKinney and stacking 3 studs be different enough on DraftKings?
That was a lot of my builds. If you want some transparency, that was a lot of my builds. I wasn't in love with it. It's just because I crossed off a lot of the punt plays. So it left me with a lot of Vettori or a lot of McKinney. I got some Vendor Media, of course, but those are the two flyers that I ended up getting a lot more than I expected of.
JD, appreciate your message over in Slack saying just walked in. He's his favorite monkey knife fight play, and he is also from Tampa. So good to see Tampa checking in here. I mentioned about that the Nate Diaz, Leon Edwards one. I think it's just a matter of if I would go less, obviously, on the 142.5 on Nate Diaz, but 98.5 is an interesting line. I'd probably go more on Leon Edwards there. The other one that stuck out to me is I would do a double less on Jamal Hill and Paul Craig. Jamal Hill 63.5, Paul Craig 31.5.
Man, I feel like Jamal Hill might get Paul Craig to like the edge of defeat and then like reel him back in so he can keep punishing him over and over and over in like a nice brutal way. I think Jamal Hill is probably going to crush it. I think he's going to say more.
I'm thinking Jamal Hill gets this job done in the first round. That's why I'm saying less.
Yeah, I mean, it's either one or the other, right? Jamal Hill wipes the floor with him within a minute or two, or he beats him all across the ring, the octagon.
Yeah. Evelev is someone we really haven't touched much on as well. He, 9,200 it's a price tag that's just for me. It's just a concern.
Yeah, so it's the price tag, it's the finishing ability, it's the takedown defense of Hakeem Dawodu. It's not an easy fight. I do favor Movsar Evelev, but after seeing him start slow against Nick Lentz, it does make Dawodu a little appealing. I still expect Evelev to get it done, but that's kind of like where, you know what I mean? Of the other 9,000 options, I just rather pay for the GPP fighters.
Yeah, I mean, that's why it was a prioritized for me of Leon Edwards, Jamal Hill. Eric Anders was in my prioritized list as well. Izzy was more of a FanDuel play than a GPP than a DraftKings play, just because of the takedowns that I expect we're going to see from Vettori. Yeah,
it's fair. Guys, you are the best. You guys are the best, group of people. We appreciate you. I appreciate you a lot. Engaging in chat, hanging out with us, smashing the like button, tuning in to us every Thursday. Man, good luck tonight. I hope you guys print some money, and I hope you guys kill it.
Hope I print some money too. What are you talking about?
I don't think I'm going to be print. I don't think I'm going to be printing any money. I got 2 minutes to figure it out, and I'm like, Excel stupid. So I don't know.
Hooper or Calderwood on DraftKings. I would prefer to go Calderwood because of the volume.
Eek. I guess Calderwood. But look at last segment. Hooper could get a submission win and pull it off again. I mean, the kid has done it, but he needs to show me it before I can back that.
Yeah, it's just that striking deficiency is just it just scares the crap out of me. It's just, and I mean, you just looked at it a week ago, Jordan Levin. I mean, I was certainly wrong with that one. Couldn't keep it on the ground, and probably a guy that just has to work on his strength and conditioning. I mean, honestly, when I saw Chase Hooper walk off the scale yesterday, one of my initial thoughts is, I wonder how much lifting weights he does.
Probably nothing.
That's just something that we're going to have to see. But, of course, we're about to hit lock here. So good luck to everyone. As Pete mentioned, we'll be back on Thursday for next week's Fight Night card that I could not even tell you right now who the main event is. Good night, tell you.
Me either, man. You guys know how it is for me. I'll be working tonight, so I will probably buy the pay-per-view on my phone, put the phone someplace I'm not supposed to, and watch it while I work.
I mean, why don't you just have earbuds in and we just listen to it?
Yeah, right. Tell management, do something about it. I'm watching the fights.
Yes, I will be watching, and of course, but we do appreciate everyone that was in here on a Saturday afternoon, early evening. Of course, so be sure to hit that thumbs up button. Coming up next here in 30 minutes will be NBA Deeper Dive, and following that will be NBA Live Before Lock. So good luck to everyone tonight, and of course, I'll be Slack during the pay-per-view talking about the fights. Good night, everybody.